When Valve announced the Steam Machine, I was really excited for it. When Valve announced the Steam Machine price, the wind went out of my sails and I went on to my podcast and I said, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be buying one for $1,100 or for $1,050. That's just way too much money to spend on something that does what this does. Mostly that's because I already have hardware that is more powerful than that. So buying something less powerful for that much money didn't really make a lot of sense. That said, after that, I moved into this new house. And in this new house, I have the NerdNest, which is where I record my videos and play my games most of the time. This is over my garage. If I want to play games inside in like my living room, well, I needed another device. And my wife said, are you going to use it? And I said, yeah, I would use it all the time. She said, well, then just get it. You have a YouTube channel and you can monetize the videos that you're making for it. And maybe you'll make your money back. And if not, if you're still using it, who cares? And that's one of the many reasons why my wife is freaking awesome. So she talked me into buying the Steam Machine for $1,050. And I have to say, after having used it nonstop for like 2 weeks, when I wake up in the morning, I head down to the living room and I play a game for a little bit, I am really enjoying using this thing. That being said, it's very expensive and I would have a hard time recommending the Steam Machine to the average user at the current price. But in all honesty, I would have a really hard time recommending anybody buy anything when it comes to electronics right now because the prices are so crazy. If you are currently in a situation where you absolutely have no choice and you have to buy something right now, the Steam Machine might actually be a pretty good fit for you, but it might not. There's a lot of reasons why you would want the Steam Machine, and there's a lot of reasons why you would not want the Steam Machine. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. But I want to leave the price here. It's expensive, but everything's expensive. And that's something that people seem to forget, because anything that anybody ever says about Steam Machine, all they ever talk about is how much it costs. And while that is a completely fair argument to make, what I feel like is not happening, or people are not also saying, yeah, but if you want to build a machine, you're going to spend a lot of money too. Now, can you build a machine that is cheaper than this, that is more performant than the Steam Machine? And I'm here to say, absolutely 100% you can. What you can't do is build it in this form factor, is build it in this super quiet with absolutely no noise chassis. And you also can't build it with CEC right out of the box. If you are looking for something that is completely plug and play and has access to a Steam library, right now the Steam Machine is the one to beat. But this costs $1,050 for the base model. So let's talk about what you get for that $1,050. You get a semi-custom AMD Zen 4 CPU with 6 cores and 12 threads, which goes up to 4.8 gigahertz and runs at 30-watt TDP. It also has a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 with 28 CUs running at 110 TDP. There's 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM with 8 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM. It has an internal power supply, so you don't have to have a massive chunk or brick to power it. It just uses a standard figure 8 power cord. The one that I bought has 512 gigs of storage, but you can easily upgrade that if you can afford it, because storage is so expensive along with RAM these days. So that's something to keep in mind. It also has a micro SD card slot on the front, which is very cool because you can use the same card in your Steam Deck and your Steam Machine. It has Wi-Fi 6E as well as Bluetooth, but those are on separate antennas, which means you'll see less interference. It also has a built-in wireless adapter for your Steam controller, so you don't have to use the puck that comes with it. if you choose to use a Steam controller. On the back, we have DisplayPort 1.4, which supports HDR, FreeSync, and daisy chaining, as well as 4K up to 240 Hz. It also has an HDMI 2.0 port on the back, which does support 4K at 120 Hz, as well as HDR and FreeSync and CEC. So when you turn it on, it automatically turns on your TV, your sound system, the whole shebang, and that works really well. And if you don't want to use Wi-Fi, it also has gigabit Ethernet. Let's talk about the advantages of the Steam Machine. Number one, this thing is completely plug and play. This is a PC that feels like a console. When you get it, you take it out of the box, you hook it up to your TV, you plug in the power, you plug in your HDMI, you pair your controller with it, and that's it. You're done. It's just like setting up a console, and it's a perfect way to get your Steam library on your TV. It's really, really simple. In fact, I've been using this for 2 weeks and I have yet to use a mouse and keyboard with it. I've only used a controller with it, and with the exception of when I decide to set up emulation on here, I don't see myself needing to use a keyboard for anything on the Steam Machine. Whereas if I were talking about pretty much any other PC running Windows, I would run into all kinds of issues where I would need to use a mouse and keyboard. SteamOS, which is the star of the show here, makes everything easy. It's really small, it's silent, and it has CEC, which doesn't work out here in the NerdNest because I think my HDMI switch isn't compatible with CEC. But inside on the living room TV, when I turn this on, it automatically turns on my TV. And it's just a really, really great experience, just like using a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Nintendo Switch. It's great. But the main advantage of the Steam Machine for me is that I have a huge library of Steam games that now I can easily play in the living room without having to jump through any hoops, because this is just such a great plug and play experience. And that's really important to me. It feels like a console even though it's a PC, but because it's not a console, because it is a PC, I can open it up and do whatever the hell I want with it. I can go into desktop mode and I can just use it as a computer. It's not limited to only playing games. I'm only going to use it for playing games, but for so many other people out there, there's a lot more that you can do with this that you can't do with a console, because consoles are closed system and this is an open system. But let's talk about the disadvantages. Number one, I think most people would say, is the price, but everything's expensive right now. So let's just count that as a wash. But there's plenty of other disadvantages that this has over a lot of other things. Number one, it's not particularly powerful. You're going to struggle to run games at high resolutions depending on when that game came out. So for example, I was playing Halo Campaign Evolved. This does not maintain great frame rates if you are at a high resolution. If you lower the resolution down to 1080p and adjust some of your settings, you're going to hit 60 frames per second just fine, but that is a disadvantage. This is not a very powerful system. The next big disadvantage of this is, yes, it's an open system. Yes, it's a PC, but there's really no upgrade path. The only upgrades that you can make to this, you can put an SD card in the SD card slot to increase your storage. You could put in a new M.2 drive in this in order to increase your storage. You can change the RAM, but that's it. RAM and storage, those are the only upgrades you can make. Your CPU, you are stuck with this CPU until the next Steam Machine comes out. The GPU, you are stuck with this GPU, which only has 8 gigs of VRAM until the next Steam Machine comes out, or until you upgrade to something else. My point is, there is no good upgrade path for this machine. And that makes sense because it's so small, but I do think that Valve could have made this slightly bigger and been able to give us the ability to swap out the CPU and GPU. And then somebody might say, well, that's just a PC. This is just a PC, so that's perfectly fine. This is a PC that you cannot upgrade other than RAM and storage. And if that's okay with you, then that's great. But if that's not okay with you, then you absolutely 100% should not buy a Steam Machine. One thing that I really like that Valve did with the Steam Machine is they have these front plates which are detachable via like just magnets on the front. They're super easy to take off and put back on. And Valve even gave people the 3D printing files so you can 3D print whatever you want on the front of this. And I'm sure that we're going to see tons of ways to customize your Steam Deck, but you don't have to wait. You can do what I did and completely change the look of your Steam machine. I called it a Steam Deck a minute ago, but completely change the look of your Steam machine with the skins from this video sponsor, dbrand. dbrand lets you take your electronics and customize them just for you. I've had a ton of people ask about my Mac with this sticker on the front. This is a skin from dbrand, and there's a link in the description down below so that you can get that skin for yourself. And the same goes for all of the skins that you can get for the Steam machine. There's this cardboard box one. They have one that's called Flat Earth. There's another one that's basketball. There's tons of different designs, which I think are awesome. And I love that they can actually change the look of the whole machine, not just the front of it, because if I turn it from the side, you can see that it's all the way around, just not on the back because you don't want to cover up that vent. And when it comes to installation of these skins, it's incredibly easy. It only takes a few minutes, and it protects your investment so that, you know, when you are done with it and you're going to sell it to somebody else, you could just peel those skins off and it's like it's brand new underneath. There's going to be no dings on this because it's been protected by the dbrand skin. If you want to protect your electronics and make them look cool at the same time, make sure that you check out the link in the description down below. Now, back to the video. Earlier in the video, I said that numbers don't tell the whole story, but that doesn't mean that numbers aren't important. So let's talk about the numbers when it comes to this, because I have been benchmarking this since I got it. Let's jump into that. I've decided to leave it at 1080p because that's what Valve recommends, and I'm trying to show people what is the out-of-the-box experience like. If you want me to do more benchmarks later on at higher resolutions, I can do that, but there's 100 other channels that have already done that because they've had the Steam machine for longer than I have. Now for Cyberpunk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my performance overlay so that you can see how the game performs during actual gameplay. So I'm like going to get into a firefight with some combat so that you can see how it's playing, how it looks at the settings that I'm currently using. And then after that, I'm going to switch over to the actual built-in benchmark tool so that we can see, you know, exactly what it looks like with Cyberpunk 2077 running at this preset, the Ultra preset at 1080p. And as you can see in the gameplay, it's basically holding at 60 frames per second just most of the time. It might dip down a little bit. The frame time graph isn't perfectly flat, but overall, I think that this is running very, very well at 1080p. Again, we're running at 1080p, not 4K. But when you are playing a game on PlayStation or Xbox, 90% of the time you're not playing at 4K anyway. You're looking at upscaling. Next up, I decided to run the exact same settings, but I'm running the built-in benchmark utility. As you can see, it is holding steady at 60 frames per second, and I don't really think that I saw it drop at all. The report that it gives is the average FPS is 60 frames per second. The minimum of frames per second was 59.54, which is hardly even worth mentioning. Again, this is on the Ultra preset running at 1080p, and when you're sitting pretty far away from the TV like I am, it feels fine. All right, next up is Arc Raiders. This is one of my favorite games to play these days, and here are my settings so that you can check those out. Now I need to turn on the performance overlay and start moving around. One thing that I need to point out to you is you're going to see a whole bunch of stuttering in this. This has nothing to do with the Steam machine. This has to do with my network connection. When I was recording these benchmarks, I still didn't have a good network up and running here in the NerdNest. And because of that, Arc Raiders, which is an online only game, I would keep hitting a wall when it came to my network. And that was really frustrating. But if you look at the frame time graph, you can see it's fairly flat, and I'm maintaining 60 frames per second the entire time at this resolution and these settings. Next up, I wanted to try out Halo Campaign Evolved. You can see that I've got my graphics quality set to high, and I'm at 1080p. And as you can see, Halo Campaign Evolved is holding fairly close to 60 frames per second, but not non-stop 60 frames per second. It's definitely dropping down to the high 50s every once in a while. But this is definitely playable at 1080p. If you're somebody who never wants to tweak settings, you're definitely not going to want this machine because it's not powerful enough to run the, you know, brand new super modern games at higher resolutions. So you're always going to have to like dial in the experience that you want. But so far, if you keep it at 1080p, you're going to be fine. Now, leaving your global preset at 1080p means every game is just going to start at 1080p. If there's a game that you want to run at a higher resolution or at a lower resolution, you can do that too on a game-by-game basis, which I really like. All you have to do, and let me show you this with Gravity Circuit, all you have to do is navigate over to the gear menu, then go down to properties, and under general, you can set your maximum game resolution for that particular game to whatever you want. For Gravity Circuit, because it's so incredibly lightweight and easy to run, I'm going to make this run at 4K because it's going to look absolutely fantastic and it's going to still handle 60 frames per second, no problem. So who exactly is the Steam Machine for? At this point, I would say it's for anybody who wants to have a small form factor PC that comes pre-configured with SteamOS out of the box, that makes little to no noise, fits into your living room entertainment center really well, and just kind of disappears. If that is not you, that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It means that you have different things that you want. If you want something that's more powerful, if you want something and you don't care about the form factor nearly as much, then don't buy a Steam machine, build a Steam machine. Build your own machine, make sure that you select AMD GPU, put SteamOS on there, and you're gonna be having smooth sailing. And there's gonna be people in the comments that say, well, you don't have to use AMD. It's the easiest way. If you do AMD, it's gonna be easier. If you do NVIDIA, you're not gonna be able to use SteamOS. You gotta use something else, at least for now. I think people often recommend Catchy for that, but I haven't used it, so I can't recommend it myself. All right. If you don't care about the form factor, this is not for you. If you are a console gamer and you don't have a massive Steam library, this is not for you. There is a very specific person that these machines are for. And if it's not you, that's perfectly okay because Valve gives away SteamOS for free. And so you can do whatever you want and still be able to play games on an open platform on your TV. But you have to decide, is there a cube-shaped hole in your life? And if there is, does this fit it? For me, the answer is yes. For my use case, using this as my living room PC, well, my main rig is here in the NerdNest. This is perfect for me. It fits wonderfully in the living room. It doesn't call attention to itself, although you can make it call attention to itself depending on what skin you put on it from sponsor D brand. But do I wish it were cheaper? Yes. Do I wish it were more powerful? Of course. But for what I've been using it for the past 2 weeks, I have had no problems with this. This has been a great experience for me. But in the comment section down below that like button, let me know what questions you have about the Steam Machine that I didn't answer in this video. I'll either answer them down below or I will make another video about it depending on what the question is. Thank you so much for watching. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. From the NerdNest, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Stay rad, everybody.